It's the world. I'm in the P world. Could Lloyd Banks have been top five all time like Kanye says? What happened? Shout out Stunted Growth Music, dope channel. You know what I'm saying? They also do the sports too, so I rock with them heavy. You know what I'm saying? Um, Lloyd Banks is definitely in my top five, bro. Like my favorite rapper growing up. You know, when it came to G Unit and shit like that, I had all his mixtapes back when mixtapes was really something you could cop. I remember my dad used to go grab some some tapes, in the hood, and I'll ask him like, let me get a Lloyd Banks mixtape. You know what I'm saying? So I had all Lloyd Banks mixtapes, bro. Like, and I even got the Lloyd Banks follow on Twitter, bro, because that's my dog, man. I fucks with the boy, man. That's one nigga I'm like a fan of. You know what I'm saying? I don't really fan these rappers, but I'm a fan of Lloyd Banks. But I definitely feel like he could have been like, one of the greatest. He still is one of the greatest, but I mean like one of the greatest, like, charting artists like that. But I just feel like he ain't really give a fuck about like the social media and the extra shit like that, other artists be giving a fuck about. But yeah, let's check this out.
Put a lot of hard work in, that's a pity. So if you got something to say, facts continue.
Christopher Charles Lloyd,
Best
aka
rapper.
Lloyd Banks.
Best freestyle
on April
type.
30th, 1982. I always felt that if I had maybe done a better job teaching Banks and Yayo how to evolve and change their habits, they each would be in better places right now. While I was out hustling, Banks was more content staying on his porch and watching the world from there. Banks wanted things to come to him as opposed to going out and getting them himself. He's lazy. These are direct quotes from 50 Cent's 2020 book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, of how he feels about Lloyd Banks as recently as August 2020, almost 20 years after linking with the hip-hop megastar and releasing his first album under his direction. 50 has went on to say many unfavorable things about Banks and claims all were to help motivate him and put him where he should rightfully be in the music industry and especially in hip-hop. 50 was a fan of Banks musically, but not a fan of him when it came to making money and gaining notoriety, which leads to more money. The most important showing of this is when 50 suggested Banks be more present on social media, to which Lloyd responded,
I just was
"If
saying
Pop
that.
or Big didn't do it, I won't either." At that moment, 50, quote, knew he had gone as far as he could go and that he shouldn't waste any more time and money into Banks. Don't worry, this isn't a drama story about a talented artist and his money-focused boss. I use these excerpts to lay the groundwork for where we'll take this story as we look at what stunted the growth of Lloyd Banks, who some say is one of the greatest MCs to ever have lived.
That's a
Also,
fact.
to capture in story an important piece of what's missing when fans, media, and even label mates suggest you either fell off or don't have the work ethic to be great. As artists of any kind, we all do what we do for different reasons. Making it and being a success to me may not be what it is to 50 Cent. Maybe Banks is content with where he's positioned in the history of rap. In relation to this, you see what Kyrie Irving is going through right now, where no one could understand why his mood about basketball seems to sway with the wind, and how he could walk away from so many great situations and just, well, go sit somewhere. Maybe in his mind, everything he was playing for, he accomplished, and now his heart is set on other things.
Yeah,
Deep down, that's how I feel about Lloyd Banks.
it's a good comparison.
He's had commercial success. He's your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He's worth millions of dollars when growing up he didn't have shit. He's been allowed to express his thoughts, putting out legendary amounts of mixtapes that would rival a young potbelly Gucci. But fans want more. 50 Cent wanted more. Here are 3 stunts in the growth of Lloyd Banks that caused that not to happen. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Ash, get it.
Rap checks, I make my cash stretch longer than giraffe necks. Poverty, you make bet. My words touch jail, make them wanna finish their last set.
Stunt number 1, a true MC. The first stunt, in my opinion, in the growth of Banks is one that piggybacks off everything mentioned earlier. In rap, you pretty much have 2 main lanes you can progress in, and choosing one over the other cements you in that lane forever, unless you're so talented you can dip in and out of both. Not in the early 2000s. Born in 1982 and growing up in the mecca of hip-hop, New York City, Queens to be exact, Banks was the direct reflection of his influences. Big, Rakim, Nas, Raekwon, Ghostface,
Real
and
MC
even
shit.
KRS-One. What you'll notice about those artists is that none of them are considered mainstream artists based on history. Nas being the anomaly that was so talented he could do both, but ultimately was a true MC that didn't care about the limelight. Neither did Banks naturally. He went in and stayed in that lane, and it narrowed his vision of where music would eventually go by the prime of his career. Technology, clout, views, likes, self-brands, advertisements just because you're popular, all the things 50 Cent understood to a T and Banks neglected because to him it was all about the art of rap and receiving love in the streets. In the early 2000s, the G-Unit head was making an enormous wave in music. I still remember being in school and literally everything you heard was 50 Cent's mixtapes. His gangster, hardcore sound and image was perfect for where rap music was peaking as far as the tough guy, raw image guys like Run DMC, LL Cool J, and pretty much every rapper had to adjust to in the early to late 90s. The harder sound. That sound peaked in the early 2000s and everything was baggy jeans, boots, fitted hats, videos with zero females, and mean mugs. No one was doing it better than G-Unit, led by 50 Cent, who had just come off of being shot 99 times and surviving, giving anything he touched credibility, and that's what it did for his crew, G-Unit. Banks would join the group officially after being shot in 2001, a day before the September 11 attacks, and from there decided to take music more seriously. He was introduced to 50 by Tony Yayo, who found Banks in his neighborhood, and also the buzz from his mixtapes passed around in the streets. He introduced him to 50 and they hit it off immediately. From day one, fans could tell Banks was the more lyrical of the group and saw his potential as the most natural rapper that was also the youngest, so could carry the juggernaut into the future. For Banks, he just wanted to rap and express himself, and also to make enough to help his single mother and family into a better situation. He got his first major placement on 50 Cent's classic Get Rich or Die Trying on the hit PIMP and carried that motivation into the G-Unit label's first group release, Beg for Mercy, in 2003. Fans fell in love with Banks and hungered for more. He gave them just that when he released The Hunger for More in
classic
2004,
album right here,
which went platinum and debuted at number 1 behind the 50 Cent featured On Fire single and the hit Karma. No one would guess they would go hungry again, and this would be one of only 3 studio albums he'd release in almost 20 years. Mainly because along the way, Banks found it hard to juggle the responsibilities of being a star and just wanting to rap. As an artist, that mentality gave him respect but stunted his growth. Stunt number 2, strike while the iron's hot. Another huge stunt in the growth of Banks was because in critical points in his career, objectively speaking, he didn't strike while the iron was its hottest, and time caught up to him in the sound and image of music changing, along with fans' obsession with youth and not the seasoned rapper that didn't evolve. After his first album went number 1, Banks and G-Unit were as hot as ever in 2004. Tony Yayo would go platinum after Banks. I'ma just leave that there. For Banks, coming off his debut success, he would have been better served releasing soon after, almost like DMX did with his first 2 albums back in 1998. Because he was on such a hot label that had the flame but wanted to spread it around, he was placed on the back burner the rest of 2004 and 2005 so guys like Yayo, 50 Cent, and First Lady Olivia could shine.
Olivia.
What was supposed to be his follow-up album was leaked after a threesome turned theft by the females who put it out online.
Ooh, shit.
Having to scrap that, He didn't release another solo until late 2006 with Rotten Apple, which didn't have the success he had the first time and would see him take even more time off, focusing on his mixtape catalog, leading to him being dropped from Interscope and pretty much casted away in 2009. In 2010, he had another resurgence behind the track Beamer, Benz and Bentley, which featured another Stunted Growth alumni, Joel Santana, that picked up steam and got all the labels back on the Banks train, even Interscope. Instead of signing with another big label, he decided to take a distribution deal from EMI. At another critical point in his career, his new distributors, EMI, undershipped his album, which led to poor sales and profit, seeing as he'd released 4 singles before its release, all paid for out of his own pockets.
Damn.
It was his final album as he grew frustrated with the industry and especially the fans.
How many of y'all fuck with the Cold Corner? I'm thinking about releasing it, and when I do, you will pay for it, and it will be pre-orders out there, and if I'm not satisfied with the number I get back, it just won't come out.
Stunt number 3, The Man.
The fuck?
The final stunt in the growth of Lloyd Banks is simply because he grew up. The man Christopher Lloyd grew past his younger self, who he says he gave strictly to his fans, music, and family all throughout his 20s, and now wants to do what he wants to do. This was said in an interview
Can't hate on nobody for growing up.
Since 2010, though, he hasn't released an album, and the long-awaited Cold Corner 3 mixtape he encouraged fans to pre-order, and they wouldn't come out until 2020. At that point, it was strictly as closure for his fans, because like he said himself, no one's checking for Banks' music anymore. Not enough people, at least.
Shit, I'm gonna be real. I be checking still, bro. Facts.
But Banks mentally has been done for years now. He wants to live a comfortable life and not be accused of being lazy by fans and once friend 50 Cent. He had a daughter in 2016 and understandably wants to play an important role in her life. He simply became a man, and music just isn't or hasn't been for a while now what's important to him. All in all, to bring this story full circle, I understand how Banks must feel. At the end of the day, he didn't come into the game wanting fame and notoriety. At some point when it helped his financial situation, yes. But after achieving his goals, his heart left, and I'm not mad at that. I'm also not mad because he alluded to it. These fans don't support you like they easily can, which helps an artist pull through in critical times, and that gets tiring. Banks left with respect though. Although he's never officially, seriously retired, he has the respect of hip-hop heads and his peers,
Forever.
and that to him is worth more than anything. Salute to Lloyd Banks, much respect, but for these reasons, his musical growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.
I chop a couple down, gun fool. I'm Sun Tzu. It's like 3 of me when I'm on my titties out the window cause the V exquisite. She pretty in her body banging but a demon in it.
I don't know, man. Definitely, if you a real like hip hop, student of the game like I am, you'll know Lloyd Banks definitely stunning his growth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. That's just part of the game, though, bro. Some people don't have, to play the game how everybody else wants it to be played. Like he's a dude who probably had goals set in his mind and achieved those, and like he's happy with his success, bro. So like, other people want more and more and more and more and shit like that, and that's what other people want. So. You can't never determine somebody else's, success based off of what you think success is. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would have to say about it, man. Shout out Lloyd Banks, though. That's really, really legendary. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what the world I should react to next, man. Until next time, it's the world.